Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ashwar Saxena, and today I'll be the host for this session. Today we have with us a stalwart of the industry, a prominent voice in the BFSI sector, and an illustrious alumnus of Banaras Hindu University. We have with us Mr. Tapan Singhel. Currently, he is the managing director and CEO of Bajaj Allianz General Insurance. In 2014-15, he was the member of board of directors of the Indo-German uh, Chamber of Commerce, and in 2011-12, he was a member of the board of directors of Berkshire India Private Limited. Mr. Singhal is known for his bold leadership, turning ideas into strategic actions, and for that, he has been awarded various awards and accolades from the industry, one of them being the Best CEO Award of 2016. In the teaser video, we all have seen how excited Mr. Singhal was to have been invited by his alma mater. We are equally excited to have him on Technex 21. So, without much ado, I would like to hand over this virtual mic to Mr. Tapan Singhal.
Thank you, Ashwari. Such a pleasure and honor being here. So let me tell you guys, in terms of what I'll do is try and get some different points and then connect them together for the topic which we have, humanizing technology. But let me speak a bit about BHU first, and that also is very important because that in a way will lead to what I'm going to talk about. So BHU for 3 generations. My grandfather studied there. He became a doctor. My father studied there. He joined the police services, and then I studied there. My grandfather and father must have definitely studied. I did not study. Now, let me begin with this because the first 2 years, I actually struggled to pass. Pass means I had a lot of back papers. I don't know if BHU still has back papers. Ashwarya, do you still have back papers there, or you don't have back papers anymore?
Yes, we do have back papers.
So did you get back or didn't get back?
Fortunately enough, I did not get her back yet.
Yeah, see, he didn't get her back.
Fortunately, I did not get her back yet.
Yes. He's a studious guy. Right? He's the one who's studying hard. But there were guys like us at BHU who study was the last thing. We had a great time. We moved around, and that time we used to have Kashi Yatra. We didn't have Technex then. I remember Kashi Yatra was being held by IIT BHU. And we would go to that Shiv temple and the chai ki dukan outside. And evening was Lankating. And Lanka is a bit crowded now. Recently I went. That time it was more freer. And we would walk down Lanka and have Pehlwan Lassi and Long Lata and do all those skit plays, whatever you could think of, but study. Yeah? So when you lead a life like this, you don't pass, you get back papers. Yeah? So the first year, I had quite a few back papers. Second year also had quite a few back papers. And in those times, you will be surprised to know, I was not at all feeling bad about it. Because today, if I say somebody has a back paper, the guy would be really despondent, like his life is over or something. And the reason was when I had asked my friend, my close friend, they said, what happened? And they expected me to top the class. That was the irony. And I was having back papers. So when I asked them, they asked me, how did it go? I said, pretty bad. I failed in a few subjects. And then I asked them, what about you? They said, we also have failed in a few subjects. And then we figured out that they had failed more than me. So then life was good. Yeah. Humanizing. In those era, we didn't have mobile. Yeah. We had this tea shop outside hostel. I think you still have it. I saw it last time I went to BHU. And you had bread pakoda and tea, yeah? And those midnight bread pakoda and tea, and the sitting out there and figuring out what to do with life, in which nothing was there that you could do much about, but having a great time. I think human bonding and understanding of human relationship, which I got in Banaras and BHU, was to a phenomenal level. And later in my life, it plays out in a very different way, which I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to talk about a problem in insurance and then see how we link it to that. So to me, Banaras and BHU, though I grew up in Calcutta, but for my college, I was in BHU and Banaras, was a very interesting place. Assi Ghat, taking a boat from there and rowing it to Dashwamedh Ghat, leaving the boat there, paying the boatsman much earlier, walking down Dashwamedh Ghat back to hostel. I think all this crazy stuff I did. And that somewhere defined a personality to a very different level than what normally it could have been. The different story, I cleared all 3 years in 1 year itself. And in my master's, I was the topper in my class. So that's a different story altogether. That bouncing back, coming back, getting into those kind of high graded marks was a different issue. But those years when I was not doing so well in studies, but I had amazing friends to be and exploring the city, all the nooks and corners, exploring all the eateries that you can think about, and going to all places. And in the night, there used to be some kind of a Shiv movement for the day. I remember with my friend, we got up, the whole night we cycled around the whole city. I don't know where all we went. There was some kalash being carried away. We just join any kind of procession and be a part of it. For those of you who are not like Ashwarya scoring all good marks and are topping the class and are getting all good points, or those of you like me who have had back papers, but you have developed amazing friendship, remember, it plays on life very, very much later on. I became an insurer. And then let me talk of the story of a company which we set up in the year 2001. I was the founding employee of this company. The total capital we put in this company is about 250 crores. The last capital infusion was in the year 2008. But today, if I sell this company, we're not listed, but what I hear my analysts, if I sell this company, it'll be close to 80,000 crores. So organically, without any acquisition, brick by brick, we built a company in which the total capital that was put in was about 250 odd crores. And you sell it today in just about 19 to 20 years time, is going to be 80,000 crores. We built a company which has the maximum number of banks as a partner in the world. We built a company which has close to 50,000 tied agents. We built a company which has a presence across 2,000 locations. We built a company which is respected as one of the best company in Asia and also renowned as one of the best companies in the world coming up together. We built a company which broke in the first year of operations. There's nothing like, no, we waited for some time to be done so. Now, this BHU experience of mine, the experience which I failed, and building this company, and how do you look at building the humanizing of technology is the link I'm going to talk to you about today. So we started building this company. We were stacked up against powerful private public sector companies, who were very well established and a big brand and reputation. Insurance companies is all about reputation. You're not selling a tangible product. You're not selling a car or you're not selling a refrigerator. You're selling a promise. If things go wrong, we are there with you. And early on, a lot of people talking about that the era of intermediaries is over. You had e-commerce coming in those times. You had direct to customer coming in, and people were betting on the era of intermediaries is over. One of the bets that we said was intermediaries would be there in insurance industry. And then a lot of people told me, you're a very stupid man. I think you're not investing in the right place. The era of intermediaries is over. People will buy direct everything. But I had one belief, and that belief was that emotional products which require safety net, protection, require a conversation. So if I ask any one of you, who amongst you has ever got up to buy insurance? That today I'll buy insurance. Like you've got to buy a bike, you've got to buy a shirt, you've got to buy a jeans, but you never get up to buy insurance. Not only you, nobody in the world gets to buy insurance. But it's an amazing product. It saves you from so many things when things go wrong for a price which is unbelievable. But if somebody talks to you for 5 minutes, you'll buy insurance definitely. So the point remains is that you have to have a conversation for the insurance sales to happen. Now, fast forward today's time. Now, people ask me, if that be the case, do you think insurance can never be sold digitally and can never create a company which will be only on a digital basis, a technological based company which will be there? And a lot of people tried it. If you read the net, you have a lot of startups right from Zhuanghan in China to Lemonade in America, and in Indian context, you have some companies which set up purely digital. But if you look at the success rate, it has not been the way it was projected a couple of years back that they would be taking over all the legacy companies and it'll get completely destroyed. Okay, now let's pause here. Am I old school? Am I saying that technology cannot destroy legacy insurance companies? Or there's something beyond this? Or is the technology company guys are getting something wrong? That something wrong which is happening is the humanizing of technology. Now, can we humanize technology to a level that appears like a conversation happened? And has the time come for it? So let us say if I start an insurance company again, will I do what I did, build up such a massive distribution, so many banks, so many agents, such massive presence across the country? Would I build a company like this again? Or would I build a company which is technology focused? The same me who said 15 years back, insurance organizations will always have intermediaries. Now, the question comes here is that when we talk of technology, has it reached a level where we look at it in a very humanized manner? And then I told somebody, why can't we have these conversations in a manner in which a Siri or an Alexa responds to a person? No, I was in Amazon a couple of years back. I was very surprised to know when the head for Alexa there told me that Alexa has been proposed many times over. No, and Alexa is what? It's just technology, just a voice-based technology. But using artificial intelligence, it becomes so intuitively conversationalist that a person talking to Alexa gets so carried away that they at times also propose to Alexa. Now it was said by an insurance company. The insurance company is going to be a conversational sale. How can we get that level of humanizing of tech and conversations, which is already happening now in the world, and the speed is at a very hyper speed, and take it to a level where a person can interact and understand why insurance is critical of the person. So let's say if I tell you guys that if you buy a health insurance, your life will move up by at least 7 to 10 years, and your life will be of more dignity after retirement than what it would be without health insurance. And I can get into conversation to prove this point in the next 3-4 minutes. And I promise you, if I go through that, most of you will end up buying health insurance. But on your own, you have never done that. So I think today the fluxes or the kind of the crossroads that we are in is a very interesting crossroad. So maybe if 10 years back, your skill set was high tech and you are a very good coder and you understood tech very well and you were like a very good engineer, I think you would have rocked it. Today, if you're a very good coder, if you're a very good engineer, I don't think you'll really make it big in life. Because if you don't understand the human aspect, you are not going to be the next big guy who's going to set up unicorns in the next couple of years. No? And that's why this topic is very, very important, because not only we understand it from a perspective of what does humanizing technology mean, and what does technology mean in terms of the way we look at it, and what is the distinction of technology doing to human relationships. It's about you as engineers understanding that understanding human emotions is much more relevant and important today to you than being in isolation and being a very good coder or a very good engineer. Because that, if I look at it, and if I take you back in the 90s, early 90s, I was a head for IT for my company there. And those days, IT was very funny. It's not the way you see it today. To get into a computer room, you take out your shoes, wear slippers, and there were 2 doors, and then only you could get into a computer room. Yeah, that was the time when IT was there. And to boot a system, I had to use a bootable floppy. A floppy, I don't know if you guys even still understand. If you understand, you're over 40 years. If you don't understand, it's good. You're still young. You had a bootable floppy, put that floppy, boot a computer, and then put another floppy, and then type. I saw transition DOS to Windows happen. I saw from bootable floppy to XT to 286, 386, 486, Pentium inside, and all that transition happened. That was in my era. But on a lighter note, when I was the head for IT, 90% of the time I solved the problem by looking very intelligent, and then after some time rebooting the system. Still, when I get stuck and I ask my head for IT for solution, he just says the thing, why don't you reboot and see if it works? So that's a different issue altogether. But in those days, the focus was not about understanding relationship, understanding emotion. It was hardcore. Well, how could you code? What kind of good programmer were you? And how could you create website? And those was very funny. To get a page of a website, that those days, 20,000 rupees used to be paid for 1 page of website creation. You laugh at it, because today a class 3, a class 4 kid using tools and created. So have you seen that all that coding skill that I had, which I was very proud about in the 90s, today is completely irrelevant. My nephew, niece, or anybody who's in class 3 or 4 can do much better creation of website than I can do with all my coding now. Yeah. So what is that one thing that we're not focusing on as a student, as a young leader, or as a society, and which would be the next edge for you? When I was younger and tech was not there, mobile was not there, I told you in college I was failing, but I was still very happy. I was enjoying my life like crazy. There's no pressure. There's no mobile, no parents calling me every day. In fact, to call up my parents, I had to go to telephone exchange in BHU. You'll be surprised. Next to the post office, there used to be a telephone exchange. And we would get a letter from the union. Those days we had union. and that would allow me free call for 3 minutes, and then I would link up the call from the telephone exchange to my parents to talk to them for 3 minutes. That's one instance, 2-3 months. That's all. Some inland letters, some post letters I should write to my father. In fact, he was so pissed off with me that I didn't communicate well enough that he gave me pre-written address of post letters. That okay, now you just write something and just post it in the post box. Hardly any communication, just friends around, and no stress or whatsoever. No, in fact, the popular saying then we had "Bholeva par lagaya." If anything went wrong, it was up to Lord Shiv to take us around. Like we were not to be bothered. He would take care of us. In today's time, when I look at my children, and I look at children around, and I look at the kind of stress they have for every small thing, there's so much of input, there's so much of overload of data, and there's so less of the human interaction, the pure laughter, which I heard. In fact, a lot of you are students and very young right now, but even you take yourself back 10, 15 years and think back in those days, you would have heard more laughter than you hear today. Our country has become richer, but we have become sadder. Why? Because the importance of relationship, the importance of humanizing, be it as we move forward in today's world, understanding is very critical. So you don't have courses, you don't have understanding of this part of it, but understanding human relationship is very critical. Now let me talk about some success stories of my company which made it to the level that we had, and what were the key distinctions which were there. So one of it very early was a challenge that we had was in the early 2000s was that how do we expand across the country and we don't get stuck by opening physical offices, because that would be very expensive and to take on big companies that were existing then. If we didn't do that very, very fast at a hyperscale, it would be very difficult. So we thought, why can't we get the whole office in the mobile or smartphone? Now today, most people think it's easy, but in those times, internet connection was not very good and smartphones were not that high level that you see today. Then we thought, how can you get claims settled on the spot and make life easy? And we said, the slogan for was that over a cup of tea, as the tea gets over, be it a claim, be it a policy should get issued. So my team worked, and I had in-house IT guys those days. They worked in-house and created this platform, which we call virtual office. And then we could spread very rapidly across the country using technology to reach out and solve customer issues. Now that led to a status that today, if I look at the total customer base I have, it's close to 10 crore Indians are covered by us as it is. But one of the reason why you could do that was the hyperspread we could do using tech. Now let's look to another problem, which is very interesting, and then I'll open it up for question and answer what is there. The problem is that if I look at insurance industry in India, for the past now 14 years, the insurance industry, the general insurance industry has a combined ratio at close to about 120%. Combined ratio means that for 100 rupees premium taken, the outgo is, which is claims, commission, and management expenses, 120, which technically means the industry is losing 20 rupees to every 100. There would be some investment income, but it's lower than that for every transaction that is happening across for the entire company, which means they're paying claims through their nose into the premium which is taken. But when you go and ask some people, what is your opinion on insurance companies? Those people say insurance companies are thugs. They don't pay claims. Is it not so funny that you have insurance companies which are dying paying claims and they're closing down because they can't sustain this business? And the opinion of the general public is that they don't pay claims. Now let's think this, why should this be? Well, the data shows something else and the reality is something else. So this was a problem which thought we'll solve it, not only for India, it's across the world. I think I remember when we set up this JV between Bajaj and Allianz. Allianz is a German company, the world's biggest insurance company. In those days, I told my German colleagues that India insurance company has a very, very bad reputation. And people, when I joined the insurance industry, my mother was crying that if you do this, you said you'll be a scientist, then why did you not become a bureaucrat? Why do you want to join an insurance company? She was so sad. So my German friend said, no, in Germany it's better. When you fail in life, you become a bartender. When you fail as a bartender, across the world, when you look at it, insurance industry has a bad reputation. But the kind of things they do, if I tell you that whenever the government of India has a problem, they go to LIC, for bailing out, like right from IDBI Bank to anybody. If I tell you the revenue that Allianz has, it does a revenue of 130 billion euros. year. So if you try and just put it to numbers and amount of cash that the company would be having, or if you talk of Warren Buffett, one of the richest man in the world and a very intelligent investor, his basic wealth creation happened with Berkshire, which is an insurance company. The kind of difference they make to society, the kind of difference they make to the economic, the kind of difference they make to is phenomenal. I think most of our investment goes to government projects, the kind of money that gets pumped in, and the way when a flood happens. I remember in Jammu and Kashmir, when flood happened in what, just about 2-3 months, we paid 1,500 crores, but the government had just given 300-400 crores then. So the kind of impact the insurance industry makes across the world is phenomenal. But the reputation it has is again very, very funny. And if I look at the talent the insurance industry has, right from data scientists to nuclear scientists to agriculturists to maybe a pharmacist or engineers, doctors, nurses, they're all part of the insurance industry because they try and ensure everything possible, right from satellites to health to cattle to crop to all kind of factories that you can think about. With such huge talent, such huge impact on society, still, the more you talk about insurance industry, you have such a bad negative concussion. Why is it so? So while we're thinking it through, the answer was very simple. It was such a simple answer. And again, how do you humanize it comes to the path. So if I look in 16th century, the insurance industry got set up. What would they do? They would collect money from many to pay to a few who have a claim. But the onus was on the insurance industry to see that the money that they pay to a few should be those who come within the policy conditions and they're not frauds. Because they start paying to frauds and to everybody, then the money that are collected from many is not being used for the purpose it was given to them. Insurance industry was a custodian of public money, and so they had to be very, very careful in terms of how they would use that money. So the moment a customer lodges a claim, the insurance industry starts from the philosophy that the customer is a thug. They eliminate all the points to it and then pay the claim. So from the insurance industry point of view, it's right because they have to eliminate fraud before they pay. From a customer's point of view, it's a pathetic experience. The moment you lodge a claim, they start asking you, "Acha, kitne baje gaadi ladi thi? What were you doing at 2 in the night? Which bar did you come from? Were you drunk? Not drunk?" And the customer is thinking, "I insured my car in accident. Please pay." What stupid questions are you asking? Now that is where the problem comes in. So let's say in the 16th century, 17th century, 18th century, there's no solution for this. There will be individual would go, question would happen and pay. In today's time, technology is so beautifully everywhere, overarching. Your mobile, which has camera, every mobile has a camera. You have CCTVs, you have data all over the place. You have government data, which is in digital form. Now you have everything's available. Why can't it all be plugged to deliver claims at a hyper speed while the fraud elimination can happen using data at the background? And if that industry can do, then the perception would change. Because perception comes from this particular philosophy of distrusting the customer while paying a claim till proven to be trusted. And this is precisely when we started doing 2-3 things. First and foremost, we said we'll pay all retail claims within 10 minutes of time. We'll use blockchain, we'll use data, we will use photographs, we'll use OCR, we'll use what you think about. But all the technology would be used to solve this problem of getting the trust of customers by paying claim at hyperspeed. So in the year 2013-14, we started paying motor claims on the spot. It's first in the world when we did that. In fact, we are among the first in the world. Again, we paid claims for flight delay. Let's say you're going foreign and you're going to any country. You have your passport, you have a boarding pass. You actually use an app, scan the passport, scan the boarding pass. Your policy gets issued. And if a trip delay happens, there's a claim on trip delay, and you don't even lodge a claim, we actually send you a message saying that your flight got delayed and this is the claim amount for you. So even before you ask for the claim, we pay you a claim. Now, the point I'm trying to make here is that this is how, when you look at technology, and don't get overawed by technology, but you find a problem, which may be industry problem across the world, which is specific to your company, specific to your society, and you use the technology to solve it, then you're making it big. But you'll be surprised to note, I've interacted with so many senior leaders, colleagues across, and I interact with so many board members. Most of the time, I hear people talk jargon. And for them, let's say they would ask that if you're not using blockchain, if you're not using artificial intelligence, you're not using machine learning, then you're not getting anywhere. But none of them are trying to ask that what is the problem are you solving using this. So one of my messages to all of you as bright youngsters is that if you're not solving a problem, if the only thing you're talking about is tech, we're not humanizing tech, we don't have emotions, empathy at a very high level, not putting it all together, and not making a difference to society, then in the current world, the way it is not the era in which I was the IT head, in which just knowing coding was like I was super Greek god if I knew coding. In the current world, you will lose out. So while you study, while you focus a lot on the content and you focus a lot on your grades and marks, do focus on your friends, focus on the tea shop, focus on visit to the Shashmed Ghat using a boat, focus on cycling around and having fun. Because only when you understand what human emotions, empathy is in the real sense at a very high level, the future is yours. So this was a message to all of you as I'll put all this together. I'm super excited to be here. But I'm going to take some question and answer. I don't want to be to a one-sided dialogue. So any question which comes up to anybody, please write on. Ashwari, help me read out the questions. Very happy to answer it all. For you. And you can ask me anything about BHU, about my life, or my success, about my failures, about your frustrations, about what do you feel like. I'll be very, very happy to answer your questions as you progress further. Please, Ashwari.
Thank you, sir. We do have a lot of questions. So, first question is, in these testing times, what were some of the most trivial issues that Bajaj Allianz faced, and how did the company management tackle them? Like the testing times in COVID scenario, where people were limited to their homes.
It's a very, very good question, Ashwari. I'll tell you something very interesting. So before the lockdown got announced last year, I had a talk with my senior team and I said, let's prepare for lockdown. Those days, if you remember, about a year back, nobody believed India would have lockdown. They said, no, India will not have corona. It's very hot here. Summers are coming. Corona can't survive the summer. And we Indians have a lot of resistance. We eat all the streets, so we eat street food, so nothing can happen to us. But I said, prepare a lockdown. So before lockdown happened, as a company, we actually moved to work from home. And that time we thought it will be about 2 to 3 months time. So in fact, a lot of people had desktops. We got laptops, we rented for 3 months time, and we got all data cards for them. We thought it will not go beyond 3 months. By 3 months, we should be able to control it. That was the feeling we had. And lockdown got announced. A lot of people ask me this question first is, how do you know lockdown will happen? And let me answer with, as youngsters, this is very important for you to understand. Today's world is a very, very small world. It has got compressed, because of tech, because of the hyper connectivity is there. So whatever happens, any part of the world is going to happen in this part. It's not a world of 1950s and 60s where the world was still very disconnected and very, very big. It is a very, very small world. So when I saw lockdown getting announced in different countries, my feeling was the moment the number of cases start moving up, the first thing the Prime Minister would do is announce a lockdown, because that is what is happening. And that's exactly what happened. The number of cases moved up, Mr. Modi announced a lockdown. So the initial phase of lockdown was we were all super excited. How do we stand by each other? How do we build up morale? How do we get our agents active? So we did a lot of Zoom calls. We did a lot of connections. You'll be again surprised to know, I started Antakshari. So I was thinking, what is that one game which can cheer people up and can be done virtually? And the answer in my mind was Antakshari. So after so many years after college, I started Antakshari again with my people, with my agents, because the moral and the spirit had to be high. But we're not used to a lockdown. We're not used to being confined. All our life, we have been used to moving around especially insurance guys, we're used to meeting people. So that was the first thing we do, which I think my team did very well. We reached out to about 50, 70,000 people in a week's time, called each one of them individually. The second thing, which was a big worry for me, was the mental health, which again is still a worry. People are not talking about it. More than the pandemic, mental health will become an issue. People are not used to lockdown. Constant fear for such a long time is going to have impact on mental health for most people. Now I see some reports coming through. So that I told my head HR, Vikram, why don't we set up, anybody call up, the facility which is there, and we tied up with a very good provider. And not only for our employees, their family members, our intermediaries, everybody, we said you can call up the helpline and have a conversation, even if you're feeling alone, lonely. And initially we thought nobody would use it. I was surprised to see 28% of my people used the helpline. That was the second thing that we. Then was business. How can we ensure that we can reach out to our customers? All the distillation I was telling you about, so we have a very focused team. We have Saurav, our head for IT, and Deepu, head for operations, and all team put together. They had done an amazing job. So you'll be surprised to know that in the lockdown, we issued 1 crore policies, settled 30 lakh claims without any physical interaction, all digitally. So digital, we were ready with the tools. Uptake was a bit slow, but the lockdown happened very well. In fact, we had some customers, we asked them to take a video of the premises and settle claims on their business and transfer the money. So more than anything in a crisis, this is important to understand. It's your will as an individual. It's your desire to make a difference, which plays out. Technology is there, tools are there. Only when you give up hope, only when you get overawed by the problem, only when you get overawed by the crisis, you lose the battle. When you have the spirit in you, and when you have the desire in you to make a difference, irrespective of what the crisis is, I think for us, the crisis was an amazing opportunity to redefine ourselves, which we did, to come very close to our people. And that is again the BHU connection of the friendship, solidarity, being together, all that played a. Nothing in your life goes waste. Even failing actually works very well for you at a later time. So remember this also, nothing in life goes waste. What you feel today is a failure, tomorrow would actually give you an opportunity in your own way to build that up. So that is something which is very, very critical. So I think we could pull it out well, like even in Pune, our head office in Pune, when the cases were going up again, we immediately asked our head office to move to work from home. We asked the leaders not to meet each other physically, move here. So again, as the cases built up, and today we have a curfew announced now from 6 to 6 in the morning. I think as a team, we were able to move ahead of times and take care of our people at a very hyper speed. I think that is what takes it forward. But for you as an individual, always remember, whenever you see a crisis, it's up to you. How do you come out very strong on it? There's one quote which I liked very much, and again from my BHU days, I had this friend of mine from Punjab. He'd always quote, "Sawa lakh se ek ladao to Guru Gobind kehlo." Those are days when you had a lot of dialogues, which actually, again, you see the philosophy behind it, that sawa lakh se ek ladao. So if you have one soldier and your enemy has 1.25, and still you win, that's the spirit. In a crisis, remember this, have the spirit that you can overcome anything. Tools, tech, you'll find there. But if your spirit is not there, the best of tools and tech will not be able to help you out.
Thank you, sir. Adding on to this question, you said how you have Bajaj Allianz has sold 1 crore insurance in the past 1 year. So how has selling insurance digitally affected those people, those agents who used to visit people personally and sold them in insurance personally? How has this affected them?
I love your team, Aishwarya, and all you youngsters. In my time, I could have never asked such a question, honestly. It is very, very good. Okay, let me come. We issued about close to 3 crore policies last year. 1 crore in the lockdown period, what we said. So now if you see, what did we do? We did not issue this policy directly. So we enabled our agents to be able to send quotes, proposals, on their mobile to their customer, to be able to do a video chat with the customer through their mobile. So I think that is how we use tech. So this entire 1 crore is not done by the company, it's done through intermediaries only. It is their enablement and they're linking up to the customer through the video chat. Inspection getting done through the video apps that we have. We have a CaringlyYours app. So through that, the customers could click pictures, upload, and our underwriters could see. And the intermediary could talk to the customer on the video chat and send the customer a link for payment once, and the policy would be issued on the customer's email address the moment the link would be done, and a copy to the intermediary. So all the linking up we did together, that nobody was out of this. So in fact, our intermediaries loved it because they could now talk to many customers in earlier times. So remember, when the physical time, you could, how many meetings you do? 5, 7, 10. Today they could do 30, 40 meetings. So the smart intermediaries actually double their income, because they could reach out to much more customers and service them using tech very, very fast. So that is how we solve this problem.
All right, sir. Next question is related to the health insurance part. Like you said, how we follow what is happening around in the world. So in USA, there is something called Obamacare. So what if something like that happens in India, and actually it is happening PM Yojana, PMJ Yojana. So how would it affect the health insurance industry?
Ashwari, all these guys are asking questions, ask them to apply to a company, A very nice question, in depth. Okay, let's understand health insurance. Why is it critical? And the Prime Minister. Sorry, Ashwini. You're on mute.
You can also tell us about the recruitment process too.
No, seriously, it's a very in-depth question, and very few people ask me such in-depth questions. That's why I'm so impressed. Now let's look at health insurance. One, as a leader, I've been passionate about it, and the Prime Minister Yojana I talk about, and the other ones which you missed out, I'll talk about that also. First, last talk about the Prime Minister Yojana, the National Health Scheme. I have been instrumental in trying to put up notes, and I'll talk about what I'm going to do now, what I'm writing about now, and what impact does it have in the country. I have a strong belief that if you're able to insure all Indians, forget about who insures that, yeah, then the average life expectancy of Indians will move up by at least 7 to 10 years. Let me explain how. So you see the difference. If somebody is not insured and somebody insured, what happens when they fall ill? When somebody is not insured, when they fall ill, they first think, I'll get better. So they try and prolong any kind of treatment. When it gets a bit worse, they visit the local chemist and tell the chemist, I have this headache or something. So what do you would say? The chemist would give them some medicine. For them, he is the biggest doctor they've seen in this world. Now, if that further deteriorates, then they try to figure out some place which is cheap, because all the savings is going to go, and they're worried about the education of children or the marriage of children and the savings. So they'll go to a hospital which is not very high end and doesn't have the best of experts. It's too late at times. Somebody insured gets the best hospital and the best doctor day zero. So obviously, the person insured, his life expectancy moves up compared to someone not insured. Let me prove this point. In Japan, the average life expectancy is 90 years. In Uganda, is 40 years. The difference is healthcare. So good healthcare in a country is very, very essential for the citizens of the country. Now let's look at National Health Scheme. When Mr. Modi announced it, 40 crore Indians below poverty line got covered for a 5 lakh sum insured. Phenomenal, no? Now again, there's tender for it. There are states which tender for it, like we insure Jammu and Kashmir state, we insure Meghalaya. So there are tenders for it. So we again are part of it. The government tenders states, and then we pick it up and then we serve the customers there. In fact, our serving Jammu and Kashmir got praised by the Prime Minister and the Parliament also. But the point is that kind of money is reaching the rural sector. And suddenly after announcement, after a year or so, you hear all this big chains of hospitals talking about opening up infrastructure in the semi-urban and rural places. Why? Because now the customer there, which earlier could not afford, has a 5 lakh affordability, and suddenly hospitals find it very viable to set up centers. So you see the percolation of it happening. It goes to the root level, healthcare moves up, Indian citizens know life expectancy goes up. Is it not so phenomenal? Now, if you look at, this was for the below poverty line. Jammu and Kashmir state, and we read the news today, I think Rajasthan has already announced that every citizen of Rajasthan will be covered by 5 lakhs, not anymore about the below poverty line. No, and Jammu and Kashmir state also said every citizen of Jammu and Kashmir will be covered for 5 lakh rupees. So to the point you're saying, slowly one by one, states are now covering everybody for 5 lakhs sum insured. To me, as a citizen of India, I'm very happy about it, because it makes everybody's expectancy moves up over time. Most of the states, when they say that, at the back, it is covered by insurance company. Like Jammu and Kashmir is covered by us, Rajasthan is covered by New India. So it is covered by insurance companies. In a way, insurance business moves from pure individual to group also, which is good. At the same time, you still have individual insurances. No? Even when you have Obamacare in US or in Europe, you have no coverage by the government. People still buy individual insurances, because if you want high-end treatment, in let us some of the expensive hospitals, that is not provided by these covers. These are covers which are negotiated with hospitals at a pre-described rates. So for individuals looking for a better treatment or better coverage, they would go for individual covers. The individual looking beyond 5 lakhs still go for individual covers. So this is still an ever-emerging network which is there. So I don't see it as a threat to insurance industry. I see that insurance industry has to evolve to understand how to insure everybody, understand the bigger cause, and serve the citizen very well. Now, because you asked me this question, let me talk about the next thing I'm working on. If you look at the floods in India, when I was a kid, a rainy day holiday used to be a big thing, but you used to get it once in 2 to 3 years. Today, kids have every 3 months you have a rainy day happening. The floods have become like 4 or 5 in a time. But at the same time, the coastal area of India is suffering. People who have worked hard, let's say 60 years of age, a flood happens and their home goes for a toss. Where do they go now in nuclear families? It's a huge social issue. We are trying to solve it by giving a parametric insurance that on a certain amount of rainfall, if it goes beyond that, we transfer money to Jan Dhan account straight from There's no survey, nothing required, no, for every individual who is covered on that place. So this is being worked on. I think very soon again you'll have this happening there. So that is how insurance industry makes a difference. So this health part of it is very critical. I still believe we have about 60, 70 crore Indians uninsured for health. It's a huge amount of Indians. And I hope that over time we're able to cover this very well. So it's actually very interesting to see. I'm super excited about it actually, personally.
So, sir, you talked about how coding was treated so highly back in your times in the 90s, and now people even take coding as a hobby. Still, people are going mad about coding. So, how do you think we can introduce kids to topics like finance, insurance, and the economic sectors? Like people are still tending to go towards the technological sector.
No, that is actually, what happens is actually, it is basically because as youngsters, whatever you hear pays you well, you get to tend to gravitate well. It's nothing to do with what you like. No, some people like coding, but let's say if I know 100 people, I only know one who is super obsessed with coding. 99 have no love for coding. No, it is there. So I don't think it's about coding. It is about what pays you well. Luckily, unluckily, in India, coders got paid much better than maybe, let's say an economist, in the past. And that is where it would be moving up and be the preferred job. Tomorrow, if the economist gets paid more, you'll find the economist. Let me explain it in a much easier way. Why do people go to cricket and not to hockey? No. If you go to cricket, IPL, anything, 5 crores, 10 crores, for one season you get paid. Chances are, if you're the best hockey player also in India, how much will you get paid? So where will all the talent go? To play cricket? Yeah. So talent would move towards what pays more. That's very few people move to what they love to do. Now coming to the point, how do you ensure that people try and understand things? It is not about what they do. The people of tomorrow, in fact today also, the ones who are getting really paid very well, or the ones who are making big in the world, are no more about individual skill sets. They are people who are solving problems. So let me again explain this part. Let us see all this unicorns that has got created, or all these billionaires who got created. But look at the top billionaires. Then they were not billionaires just 20 years back. They replaced everybody. Be it Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff or just name these guys, or Elon Musk. 20 years back, 30 years back, they were not there. Nobody even knew them. But you look at it, why did they become who they became? They solved some problem. Be it in Airbnb, be it in Uber, be it a Facebook. They solved a problem actually. No, it is not that they created something. They just solved a problem. Like Uber solved a problem for movement. Taxis, if I do not know, you still remember, if you're not in the Uber time, it's so difficult to get a taxi. There's so much negotiation be happening. So I think the moment Uber bought that in, it was such a big relief. Anywhere, wherever you are, you could get a taxi at a price which is very, very clearly, transparent. When Airbnb came in, you suddenly had so many places to stay which you could afford. They solved a problem. So today, the world is not about your skill set. The world is about who can solve problems. And you can use skill sets of different experts to weave it together. So who would be the one who would be the top of the pyramid? The one who solves problem and who knows what skill set will require to solve the problem and who can weave it together. So if you look at, let's say for Apple, Steve Jobs, was he a techie? He was not a techie, no? But he solved a huge problem, bringing design. In fact, you hear his speeches on connecting the dots. When he joined the calligraphy classes, that made a difference to Apple. People who can solve problems are there. So the skill set is something that you have to build on your own. When you see a problem, do you run away from it? Do you get scared of it? Or do you shirk it? Or do you love it? The moment you have a problem in your life, do you love it and say, wow, I have a problem, let me solve it. The moment you start building the skill set together and you build your network of people who have good skills, individual skills, who love to have the skills, and you put it together, that time you're going to make it big. So the world has changed a lot, from what it was about a couple of decades back. I think these are the more critical skill sets that you have to have compared to what was earlier.
Next question is, when you were young, who did you look up to when you were learning?
Okay, so I think in my time, most people look up to their parents, because or some movie star, because that is all we had influence of. So not much on that. But I think the 2-3 things which had a big impact in my life was one, my father was in Calcutta and I was growing up there. So every evening we would go for a walk, father and son. So all of you, when you become fathers, remember this, how is going to play impact on your children's life. So while we would go for a walk, he would talk a lot of things. And Jadavpur University, Mr. C.V. Raman, the Nobel laureate of India, was there. So you talk about C.V. Raman, you talk about the Raman effect. I didn't understand what Raman effect would be, but one thing I understood, there's something like a Nobel Prize, something very good to get, as India. So I thought I'll become a scientist. And if I can become a scientist, I'll get the Nobel Prize for my country. That was my ambition. And that's why I joined BHU Physics, because and those days, physics of BHU had the maximum number of Bhatnagar awardees. Bhatnagar award is the highest award in science in India, And so that was one of the reasons why I joined there. Now, that was one. Second was, I remember when I used to get into some difficulty or some kind of issues, my father would never say, do this or do that. He'd always tell me, okay, now you're in this problem. How would you get out of it? What is your solution that you want to do? He'd always encourage me to find solutions to different things. And that built in a very curious mind in me. So all this impact, when I fast forward to it, played on big things in my life. So I never, in a way, hero worshipped any one individual. Because for me, every individual has been an amazing guru, I might say. Like when I talk to you, Aishwarya, also, as I speak to you, your methodicality in the way you pick up questions, the way you are able to smile at the right place, keep you engaged for the entire 1 hour. I'm learning from you also. So for me, every individual I meet, I try and learn from that particular person. I believe every individual is very, very special. So I never had somebody, one man or one lady, who would, like I'd say, I idolize. But every person I met, to me, has been a huge influence in my life. So that is one thing which I've seen. So it's like collection of huge data lake I have in your language, if I may say so.
Very great insight, sir. Collecting one good habit from a number of people would result in a large number of, it would be better than idolizing one person. So next question we have, not related to insurance industry. It's a general question. So as you have been working in the industry for such a long time, what do you think is the next big thing in the Indian market? Is it fintech? Is it edtech? Or what, according to you, would that be?
So I gave that answer, Aishwarya. If I had set an insurance company now, I'd do conversational sale using tech. Because if I look at the way Siri, OK Google, the way Alexa, they are building up, and the way they're able to have conversations, that can disrupt the insurance industry like crazy. I think people have focused too much on trying to just put blockchain, just trying to put AI there. They're not focusing on how to use conversation to get a sale happen. I think conversation and sale in the tech world has not reached to the level where it should. It is still a transactional sale. So let's say when you go to Amazon or you go to a Flipkart, what do? You search, scan, you find something like, you click. You're not having conversations. Yeah, you do have some kind of statement. Some people like you have also purchased this, or this is a rating. So if any one of you is going to work on conversational sale, that's the next big thing for the world. It just takes the humanizing of technology to the next big level, completely different from where you would be currently. So that would be something that I would be doing if I were to start afresh again.
All right, sir. You talked about how government goes to LIC for rescue. So what are your thoughts on the privatization of the life insurance company?
So first and foremost, it is not about privatization. It is about good and bad companies. And LIC, I mentioned the name. So let's say if you go to Europe, people may go to Allianz. Or on US, people may go to AIG. In India also, if you look at all the private companies put together, the amount of money they put on infrastructure bonds, the amount of money they put into government bonds is huge. If you collect it together, it's very powerful. Government goes to LIC because government owns LIC. So that is why they know. If you own a company, you go to that company. You can't go to a company you don't own. So if you want to have food in your home, you don't go to your neighbor's house and ask, you food there. You go to your own house and ask. So government go to LIC in a way does not mean that LIC is the only one having money. Money is there with everybody. Government goes to LIC because LIC is owned by the government. So that is why they go to that. That's the first point. The second point which would come through is, it depends on the government's philosophy in terms of how they look at what businesses they have to be in and what business they don't want to be in. And what are they looking at in the way forward. So if I look at companies, it is not about public sector or private company. It's about well-run companies, not well-run companies. I can give you up-team examples of private companies not doing very well. I can give you up-team examples of public sector not doing very well. I can give you up-team examples of public sector doing very good and private companies doing very good. So I think people classification is wrong. It is not about public and private. It is about good companies, well-run companies, and not so well-run companies. And then how do you deal with it? So you have a lot of companies in the private industry also which are selling off. If you look at the newspaper, you have a lot of public sector selling off because you don't run the company well, and then obviously, you'll have a change happening, which is there. So that is the question here. So that is how you should be looking at it.
We have a lot of business people here with us, like with business lovers. So there is another question. Insurance is an emerging hot topic in the startup space. A lot of new companies, upcoming small companies, and even companies like Paytm are trying to leverage fintech to get into this industry. So what are your views on that?
Yeah. So if you look at the insurance industry, it's a very interesting industry. It creates you a lot of float. And for that, I think those of you who want to go into insurance, read about some of Warren Buffett's speeches in terms of his annual reports and his view on Berkshire and how did he build his business there. Insurance industry, I mentioned to you, has a lot of money, a lot of cash flow, a lot of float gets developed over time as the company gets bigger and bigger. And it generates a lot of good revenue. So as I told you, if I look at Balance Generations company, the entire capital put in 250 odd crores. Today, if I sell this company in just about 19, 20 years, 80,000 crores. Is it not phenomenal, in terms of the returns which is there and the way it gets built up? So Indian industry as a whole, if you run it sensibly, generates a lot of wealth for you. If you run it stupidly, which is any business, then it destroys your wealth also. Now, if you are opening, let's say, if you are opening a fintech or something and you have a customer, the focus today has shifted to customer. What all can the customer buy or will buy or has a need? And can you service all the need? I think that is what the game is. It's not about fintech or insurance. So let's say you as a customer, what all would you want to buy, let's say? So you may want to have mutual funds. You may want to open a bank account. You may want to buy a bike or a car. Then you want to have an insurance, Then you would like to do retirement planning. You might want to have pension funds. You may want to do. So now if you break it down as an individual customer, what all would you want to do? Is collectively a solution is being provided to you. So today the era of new companies is trying to see how they pick up one customer and satisfy all the need of the customer at a one-stop shop. And that's why you see this happening. So as I told you earlier, it's all about solving problem and being very customer-centric now. It's no about bombarding as a whole and trying to figure out, the earlier concept was that you figure out a chain which you want to break, or you figure out some kind of weaknesses in terms of a particular arm of business. I think that era has moved out when you're trying to figure about the entire business, looking at from a customer's point of view. So it's rethink your business in those point of view, and then you can see much more opportunity and you'll be more successful than just looking at one part of it.
The second last question for you is, what are your tips for any aspiring leaders?
Be a good human being. Love your people. It's as simple as that. Have the courage, have the conviction. Leadership looks very sexy, it looks very glamorous. But let me tell you, there are 2-3 things that you have to be very, very clear about. You don't have the right to be demotivated. You don't have the right to be afraid. You don't have the right to give up hope. You don't have the right to move away. Because imagine that we are going to war and we have a general, and suddenly general says, "Yaar, dar lag raha hai." Do you think that army will win? No. And I told you that sawa lakh se ek lada to Guru Govind kehla, no? It's very clear when you hear the slogans of when Subhash Chandra Bose said, "Give me blood, I'll give you freedom," or when Mahatma Gandhi said, "Doodh ki nadiyan bahaunga." Let's take today's time. You look at Obama, he says, "Together we can." No. And so if you look at all this, a leader has to have that high energy, high passion, that vision, the common theme in which he believes that his people would benefit, society would benefit, and he can make a difference to the world. And he'll be obsessed with it. So if you're obsessed with people, you're obsessed with finding a solution for society, you're obsessed with making a difference, you don't get afraid, you don't give up, no hope, you are eternally motivated, and you're so driven by the passion that you have of making a difference to society and people, then you are fit to be leader. It doesn't require anything else. You will become a leader on your own. That is not something that you should be worried about.
So the questions are lining up. Many questions are there. So if you have time, we can have 2-3 more questions for you.
Okay, Ashway, 3 more.
All right, sir. So what personal finance tips would you give to college students and youngsters or recent graduates?
You ask the wrong person for the right questions. You ask me, I'll tell you, don't save money at all, spend. Yeah. So my mother used to be very, very worried. She would say, "Bhai, save something for the rainy day." And I would think to myself, that if I don't enjoy that rupee that I have today, how can I enjoy the rupee when I'm 70 years old? No. So for me, the life mantra was spend as much as you can in experiences, on your friends, on helping somebody, and whatever after that you can't do, save. That was my mantra. So my wife and my mother were very, very aghast with me. No, so I don't think I'm a very good example. But if you look back on hindsight, people would say that I'm a very good example. I enjoyed life to the full. Anything you think of, right from skydiving from 15,000 feet, shark diving, bungee jump, whatever you think of in the world, all over the world, any place you think of, I have experienced it and been there, done that. Every bit of it. There's not one thing I can think of I've not done. Only space travel is remaining, which also someday, God willing, I should be able to make that also. I spent money on experiences, on people, and made it people's life. And I was very happy with it. And God was kind. I could keep on earning more and more. What I could not spend, I saved. When I started saving, which was later in my life, and what I did was, first and foremost was, I put it in mutual funds. I bought blue chip companies. I didn't have the time to go and negotiate and figure out what's going up and down. Then I also invested a bit in real estate. My wife liked some jewelry, so I invested in that. It's a combination of various assets. Sometimes I also have some bonds also. So sometimes bonds market will go up, it gives very good return. Sometimes equity goes up. I never look back because that is not the money on which I'm banking upon to do so. I'm banking on having enough experiences. So when I talk of stories, like I talk to all of you someday, all my stories of my life, I can talk to you for years together and I'll not be over the stories. That is my ambition in life. That is how I define success. Imagine somebody is successful and you ask him for a few story and the person cannot think of a story because all his life, all he did was a 9 to 5 job and came home and watched TV. Will that be called a success? Or success would be when you have so many stories to talk about, it doesn't die. It doesn't matter how much money you leave when you die. It just matters how many experiences you gain while you're alive. So that's why I'm saying not a very good example from the way you want to hear it. So my only recommendation would be enjoy life, spend money in getting experiences. But the word of caution here is I did all that, but 3 policies I always had with myself. And that was my rainy day policy. I always had a good health policy. But suddenly if I fall ill, it's going to cost a lot of money. And if I don't have money, who's going to give that? Second, I always had a personal accident policy. You'll be surprised to know for a 10 lakh sum insured policy, you have to pay only something like, I think 400 rupees a year. It's unbelievable. So why a personal accident? It is not natural death. If I had any accidental death, then whoever depended on me could get money. So very early on, I had a 1 crore policy when I was starting my career. And third is I always covered my gadgets. Be it my camera, be it my home. I had these 3 policies very much with me because I thought, what else can go wrong? I can fall ill, I can die in an accident, or I can have issues with my gadgets and home which I've created. When I have already covered that with a good insurance product, then what else do I require money for? Spend. So guys, don't be obsessed about saving right now. Spend. Gain experiences. जाओ लस्सी पियो दुकान देखो बाहर जाओ दुनिया देखो ऐश करो जो बच गया मदद करो मदद भी नहीं कर पा रहे वो भी खत्म हो गया फिर भी पैसा बच गया then save that is my mantra. I don't know how many people subscribe to that, but I did that and I had a very good life. I'm very happy with my life.
Very interesting experience, sir. Second last question. Multiple companies are trying to target youngsters and disrupt the already existing industries. For example, Robinhood in stockbroking or Lemonade in the insurance space. So what are Bajaj Allianz plans to target the youngsters and get their attention towards this?
So one is when I ask youngsters, I ask them what is that looking for in a career. Most of them would say, one, I get bored very easily doing one thing. I want to have multiple options. 2, I want to make a difference in society. 3, I want to earn well. 4th, I should recognize for what I'm doing. 5th, the environment in which I work should be very conducive and respect youngsters. So if I ask you, Aishwarya, do you want something else from your career or are these 5 things that you're looking for or something else?
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, this is what you want. Now let's look at the insurance industry. I told you, we employ people from everything. I'm a scientist of education. I've been underwriter. I've been head for IT. I've been head for claims. I have been a marketing guy. I've been a sales guy. I set up companies. I have interacted with so many people, right from heads of countries to presidents to prime ministers to farmers to beggars. You name it. I have the widest spectrum of experience that I have for meeting people, and every 1-2 years I've done something new, and I made a different society. I cover 10 crore Indians, in terms of, something goes wrong when I wipe their tears. I'm able to increase life expectancy of Indians. I'm thinking of trying to solve the problem of floods, in the country. I'm making a different society. What else would I want in career? So if you look at Bajaj Allianz from a youngster perspective, they have the freedom to decide what they want. So I have a youngster who joined me as an accountant. Then he wanted to do sales. He did sales. Then he wanted to get into underwriting. And so if you look at my company, people would have done multiple roles. Because my belief, and this again comes from my days in failing in BHU. So once somebody told me, I'm an engineer, how can I look at a health insurance? It's a very good question. So I asked this question. It's an open house, so it's a very interesting thing. I just asked this question, and I'll tell you how this comes to me. I said, in a 4-year degree, how many months did you study? So actually, let me ask you a question. In this 4-year degree, how many months did you study? You're a good student, no? So how many months, let's say, if I have to just sum it up?
Months, I think week, we study a week before exams.
Good. And then you're like me, but you're smarter, so you're passing. So in 4 years, you study a week before exam. So let me give you the luxury of saying 1 month before exam. So 4 months you study to get a 4-year degree. So it means that whatever department you take on, be it health, be it let's say a veterinary or a crop insurance, or let's say you just require 2 to 3 months. You'll pick it up. When you could get a 4-year degree and become engineer in 3-4 months of study, why can't you pick up, let's say, pharma or let's say agriculturist in 3-4 months time? So the myth that you are an engineer, you can't do pharma, you can't do agriculture is wrong. So we actually encourage people to take whatever they want. So from that perspective, an insurance is a sunrise industry. Say for the next 30-40 years in India, insurance will always have a double-digit growth. If you have a double-digit growth industry, you're solving people's problem, you have multiple opportunities, and youngsters are respected. Why would you not join the company? So we have a lot of youngsters, and they really did very, very well. Because we are a new company, 20 years back, we were a startup. So we had a lot of youngsters then. And I think today I see them a lot of powerful leaders now. They're heading a lot of critical positions for the company, and they're doing a great job. So that's it.
All right, sir. The last question would be a special one. What do you miss about BHU?
Everything, Aishwarya, everything. I'll tell you one thing, which is a bit strange, but then I heard a lot of videos. Then I realized that maybe it is right. I think it was whose video I was hearing. It was Sadhguru's video, I think I was hearing sometime. He was telling that Banaras is situated in a very unique position. It is situated in a place where the spiritual forces are at a much high place. And that's why it is the oldest living city of the world. And people have said that in spite of how many deluges happen, Banaras still survives. And that's why people say, we want to die in Banaras, you go to heaven. No, it is because of the confluence of the cosmic positioning which is there. Now, I do not understand all this stuff, but maybe he's right or I do not know. But what I had experienced in BHU was, irrespective of what happened, I was always at a lot of peace and bliss with myself. Every problem could be solved with a bread pakoda and chai, or a Pahalwan ka lassi and long lata, or worst case Thandai in Gadolia. Every stress could be solved by a temple visit or by a boat ride on a moonlight night on Ganges. I don't know if you guys can still do it. We used to do that, very well. I never had any kind of stress, even though I was not doing very well in academics. I had zero stress. I don't know why it is so. Maybe my friends were amazing. They could know. But I had zero stress. I never had a life like this after that anywhere. So I still know, people still know me as a very calm person. But the kind of blissfulness I had just by being in BHU was amazing. So you guys are very blessed to be in BHU and in Banaras. You realize it later when you move away from there. It's amazing. So today, if you ask me, and today in one of my groups of my college friends, they were saying after retirement, we should take a course in BHU and stay in a hostel. See, imagine, after all that they've achieved, they've been millionaires now, they have made companies, they would have held the biggest position. What is the desired retirement? We'll join some course. He said, the friend of mine wrote, figure out what courses you can have irrespective of what age. We'll join that course. Still want to go back to BHU hostel. So imagine how blessed you are, that people who achieved so much in life, their ambition is to get back to hostel again and have the tapri wali chai and the bread pakoda, and talk of philosophy and go for lunketing. So that's I really miss it. And that's why when I got the invite from you guys, I said, no, BHU means I'm there. Come what may. So I'll always go and speak to all of you. That is so close to my heart. Good, Ashwin. I think we are over time now, and I know we cannot carry
Yeah.
forever.
Thanks a lot, sir, for accepting our invite and giving such an insightful talk. I'm sure the youngsters on the other side of the screen would have at least gained something from this talk and would do a bit better in their life. So thanks a lot for giving this talk. And
It was
thanks for
my
the
honor.
audience.
Yeah, it was my honor and my pleasure, Ashwin. Loved talking to each one of you. Have a great time, have a great life. And then, as I said, I'm from BHU. If anyone gets stuck somewhere, you can always write to me, search me on the net. You'll find me everywhere and write to me. I'm always there for you guys. Take care. God bless. Bye.